Hello there, hope you're having a fantastic day. Today we'll be doing a recap of a 2005 psychological thriller film titled Matchpoint. Before we hop into it, please smash that like button, and if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel and turn your notification on. Now that you've done that, let's get right into the recap. As the movie begins, we are quickly introduced to Chris, a tennis player. We see Chris talking to his boss about not being able to continue his job and moving to London not long after. He is in London to start a new life and look for new opportunities. On getting to London, he picks up a job as a tennis coach and he meets and befriends a rich guy, Tom. The duo quickly build a nice relationship, and one day, Tom tells Chris that he and his family plan on going to see an opera together and he wants Chris to join them. Chris agrees. At the opera meets with Tom's mother, father, and sister Chloe. Chloe immediately falls for Chris just by seeing him. As the show was going on, Chloe kept her gaze fixed on Chris. But Chloe isn't the only one impressed by Chris. Chris managed to leave a really positive impression on everyone, and Tom's parents think he is a good man. The next day, Chris heads to his normal tennis coaching work, but this time, there is a new student, Chloe. I think we all know why Chloe is here all dressed for tennis. She tells Chris that she loves the sport but does not know how to play it. Chris invites her to the court and offers to teach her. She jumps at the offer. Chris and Chloe spend time playing the game, and that gives them time to know each other on a more personal level. The next day, Chris goes to Tom's house, and there he meets a beautiful lady named Nola. Nola is standing by a table tennis board. She asks Chris to play a game with her. She has no idea Chris is a professional and she thinks she will win, but within seconds, Chris defeats her. Chris then walks over to her, puts his hands around her waist, and attempts to show her a better technique for playing tennis. But Tom comes in to interrupt the session. He officially introduces Nola as his fiancée. That's when we learn that Nola is an unsuccessful actress and she moved to London only 6 months ago. She's here to pursue her acting career, but Tom's mother does not support the career and does not see Nola as a good partner for her son. Tom, now knowing that Nola is taken, turns his attention back to Chloe. The two get closer and begin dating. One night, they go to the cinema to see a movie, but they barely watched any part of the movie as they spent a huge part of the time making out. Right there, Chris complains to Chloe about him not having a job because he is new. She assures him that he will get a job and everything will be okay. To end the day, they head back to Chris' house and they make love on his tiny couch. The next day, Chloe goes back to her house and her mom complains about how Nola is an unsuccessful actress and isn't a good fit for Tom. Chloe defends Nola and uses that opportunity to talk about Chris. She says that she's in love with Chris, and just like Nola, Chris does not have a job. Chloe's mom, who already likes Chris, tells Chloe that she and her husband will try to talk to some companies for Chris. If he is capable, he will have a job with one of the companies. Later that day, Chloe meets Chris in a bar and she breaks the good news to him that her parents can help him get a job. But Chris is not as excited as expected because he does not believe in himself. He tells Chloe that has no experience in business, but she assures him that he will not screw it up. Nola and Tom come to join in the bar, and it now looks like a double date. Chris asks Nola about her acting. He wants to know about the project she has been in. She tells him that she has only been in commercials and has never taken a real movie role, but she has an audition soon. She's hoping that lands her first real movie role, but she admits that she is nervous. Next, we see Chris in one of the companies for his interview. Fortunately, he nails it and lands the job. One day, while on the way to work, Chris meets Nola on the way to her audition. She once again talks about how nervous she is, but Chris comforts her. He tells her that the worst that can happen if she does not win, and that is not the end of the world or such a really bad thing. To further boost her confidence, he offers to go with her. He waits for her outside, and after the audition, she comes out to meet Chris. She tells Chris that she did not get selected. Both of them decide that the next course of action should be to visit a bar and drink. In the bar, Nola asks Chris why he loves Chloe. He tells her that he really loves Chloe. He in turn asks Nola why she is with Tom. She answers by telling him how she met Tom. They met at a party, and she said that she fell for his good looks right away. They spend a huge part of their time drinking. They get a bit tipsy and their conversation takes a flirty turn. The next day, both of them are in Tom's house. Tom's mother once again lets her disapproval of Nola public, not caring that Nola is sitting right there. Nola can no longer take it, and she storms off into the rain. Chris is also present and sees everything. He immediately chases after Nola to try to pacify her, but things take an unexpected turn when he catches up to her but kisses her instead. It wasn't just a 1-second peck on the lips, but a whole session. The next day, everyone meets in the opera, Nola included. When alone, Chris tries to kiss Nola again, but she stops him. She makes it clear that what happened between them was just a mistake and they should get past it. Obviously, this does not go well with Chris, who has also felt a thing for her. But things take an interesting turn when a few days later, Tom tells Chris that he ended things with Nola because of his mom. To make matters more interesting, Chris and Chloe get married. The newly wedded couple move into their new house, and Chloe tells Chris that she wants a kid, but Chris thinks it is too soon. But she thinks it's not too soon. She's desperate to raise a family with the love of her life. The next day, at work, Chris tries to call Nola, but she does not pick up. He goes to her house, but when he gets to her apartment, he learns that she has moved out. Fortunately for Chris, he sees her not long after when he and Chloe visit an art gallery. When they are alone, Chris tells Nola that he wants to talk to her, but Nola is not interested, or at least it seemed like that at first. She tells Chris that he is now married and they have nothing to talk about. But Chris persists. He asks for her phone number, and although she at first does not give him, after he persuades more, she dictates the number for him. Now that Chris has a way of reaching Nola, it does not take them before they kick off their romantic relationship. Chris visits Nola's apartment almost every day, and they become a happy couple. Chris also gets to meet one of Nola's nice neighbors, an old woman. Nola and this woman have a good relationship. One day, Nola calls Chris out for not fulfilling his promise of divorcing Chloe, but Chris assures her that he will divorce Chleo soon enough so they can finally be a real married couple. Now we start to see a more possessive Nora. She now wants Chris all to herself and as soon as possible. The next day, while Chris is having dinner with his in-laws, Nora calls him and tells him that she wants to see him immediately. He goes to meet her as soon as he can, and they have a lovely romantic time together. Chris has no idea that Nora's clinginess will only get worse. Chris is having dinner with his wife's family again, and he gets another call from Nora, but this time for something more attention demanding. She tells him that she is pregnant with his child. He races down to her house and tells her that she needs to abort the pregnancy. He doesn't want anything to ruin his reputation and marriage. Nora, on the other hand, does not care. As a matter of fact, this pregnancy is exactly what she needs to pin Chris down. She tells Chris that he needs to inform Chloe about her pregnancy as soon as possible, and if he does not, she will expose the pregnancy herself. As expected, this update takes away Chris' peace. He is very disturbed, and it is obvious to Chloe at home. One day, she asks him if he's having an external affair because lately he hasn't been giving her enough attention, or at least as much as he used to. He tells her that he is not having an affair with another woman. Chloe then says that Chris is having an affair because she does not have a child. Chris felt bad after Chloe said this, and he embraces her, kisses her head, and assures her that he loves her and isn't having any affair. The next day, Chris tells Nola that we'll be out of town for 3 weeks for a vacation. Although Nola isn't happy about this, she reluctantly accepts. Chris gets back home, and his wife tells him that the vacation is canceled. Chris is supposed to contact Nola and tell her that the vacation is off and he will be around, but he decides not to. He is fed up with Nola's situation and needs a break from her. One day, Nola sees Chris leave work. She realizes that Chris lied to her. She calls him again that night and demands an explanation. Chris explains, but after the call, he realizes that he can't continue dodging forever, and he also is not going to leave Chloe. He then decides to end the whole issue once and for all. He is going to shut Nora up once and for all. The next day, he goes to Chloe's dad's basement and takes one of his shotguns. He heads to Nora's apartment and first kills the old neighbor. He then takes all her jewelry to make it look like a burglar committed the murder. Next, he meets Nora and shoots her, also killing her instantly. When the police start investigating, he takes all of the jewelry and throws them in the river, but one ring falls off. The police invite him to the station for questioning. At first, when asked about his relationship with Nola, he says that she was his friend's fiancée, nothing more. But when they show him Nola's diary where she wrote everything that happened between them, he tells them that he wants to keep everything away from his family. Just when it looks like Chris would get caught, an update came up. A burglar picked up that ring that fell by the river. The police saw the ring with the burglar and charged him with the murder of both women. And just like that, Chris is let off the hook and he becomes a free man. And the movie comes to an end. Let me know what you think about how the movie ended.